Hello everyone. Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Sat Sri Akal to everyone who is watching this. We are finally here, 17 June ki raat. This is the last one night before the big final, and I've been joined by somebody you have known for so many years, and the familiar face from Dial C for Cricket that we all loved when it was on air on Neo Cricket. Thank you, Mikkail sir, for joining. And how are you doing? Kaisa chal raha hai, sir?
All excited, just like any Indian right now, Keshav. I'm doing fine, thank you. The lockdown has kept me indoors, and by God's grace, we are all touchwood fine. Would like to thank God for that. But yes, feels happy that cricketing action in whites is back. We've seen in colored clothing in blues, but
Yeah.
Test cricket, World Test Championship final, and playing in England against New Zealand, it cannot get bigger and better than this, Keshav. I'm sure you'll agree to it.
Absolutely. I mean, Test cricket कितने सालों से खेली जा रही है, and we never had like, I mean, हम बोलते हैं कि West Indies of 80s and Australia of late 90s and early 2000, these teams were the team to beat and उनका era था, लेकिन we never had a proper champion जिसको कोई ऐसी trophy मिली हो जैसे ODI या T20 में था. So finally we have that. Even though काफी loopholes हैं इस ICC की WTC cycle में, the point system और how teams don't really play each other, all the teams, मतलब आपको तीन series खेलनी है home and away, but finally at least they made Test cricket relevant, and here we are now on the eve of the final. तो sir, I'll cut to the chase. मतलब दिल क्या कह रहा है और दिमाग क्या कह रहा है? इंडिया फेवरेट्स जा रहा है, जीत रहा है क्या?
देखिए, दिल और दिमाग इंडिया कह रहा है. And I have obvious reasons for this. I understand New Zealand began as favorites. They have the advantage, they have the edge. They have beaten England in England. Their players have played some cricket as well. A few players are in form. They have one of the best bowling attacks. But India has reached this far after some good performances in the World Test Championship. We have to admit that as well. Winning in Australia, winning in England. Okay, we've lost to New Zealand as well at home. That has been a concern. But this side has not just landed into the final by doing nothing.
Yeah.
And today, when we take a look at the playing 11, I want to believe this is a quality side. Yes, there are batsmen who have an attacking flair, but if there was any time that the character and resolve of the Indian Test team would have been tested, it boils down to tomorrow, the big day.
Yeah, I mean, कोई इसमें doubt नहीं है कि India was the best team during the last 2 years of WTC cycle, because अगर आप न्यूजीलैंड पे नजर डालते हो तो they actually won just one away game, and that was in Sri Lanka. They drew that series 1-all. They lost in Australia 3-0, जहां पे इंडिया half strength team के साथ जीत के आया, 18 में भी जीता था, and then their away tour to Bangladesh got cancelled, and घर पे they beat teams like Pakistan and West Indies, who are not as good in Test cricket as the other opponents. And then if you talk about India, I think apart from that blip in New Zealand, हमारे I think just the quality of cricket that India played in that 2 years, and it's not just these 2 years. मतलब this whole changeover makeover started back in 2014-15 वो Australian tour जहाँ पे धोनी handed over the captaincy to Kohli, and from there on he regrouped with Ravi Shastri, and I think ये इतने सालों की जो पीछे इनकी मेहनत है, this is probably the reward for it, and I just hope कि अगर गलती से हम ये हार जाते हैं फिर से, एटलीस्ट इस बार रवि शास्त्री ये बहाना ना मारे कि जस्ट 45 minutes of bad face, and उसके अलावा तो हम बहुत अच्छा खेल रहे थे. I think it finally counts. These moments count, isn't it?
Keshav, I'll take you back to the year 2008, 2009. I've been doing cricket shows since then. क्या होता था कि जब टेस्ट मैच इंडिया में होता था ना, विन टॉस बैट फर्स्ट, 500-600 मारो, फिर अपने स्पिनर्स को लाओ 3-4-5 डेज पे और खत्म कर दो ऑपोजिशन को. तो जब भी इंडिया बाहर जाती थी, उनको एक स्पोर्टिंग ट्रैक ग्रीन टॉप देते थे, तो कोर्स आते थे, यू कम टू इंडिया, विल सी यू इन इंडिया. अभी वो ट्रेंड चेंज हो गया है. अभी इंडिया टेक 20 विकेट्स नॉट ऑन इंडियन पिचेस ऑन द बैक ऑफ two spinners. They take 20 wickets because of their pacers. That has been the greatest change that Indian cricket has seen over a period of time, and that's why we won in Australia, we won in England. And we have to believe in this Indian cricket team today, because we are not a unidimensional side depending on only one side, that's the batting, bat big, bat once, and then spinners come. No. Today, even if we score 200 all out, we have a pace attack that can settle the opposition to under 200 as well. And they are quality pacers.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that.
Absolutely. I mean, Look, apart from this last England series, where the pitches were kind of rank turners in the last couple of games, I think apart from that, आप पिछले 4-5 साल की pitches उठा के देखो. If you look at that Kolkata pink ball test against Bangladesh, I think it was the first time ever in the history of Indian cricket कि spinner को एक भी wicket ना मिला. So काफी जो difference एक आया था in Indian team culture, it was not just in terms of fitness, but also the preference that Virat Kohli used to give to fast bowlers. I think वो एक बहुत बड़ा change, major change था when Dhoni ended up his Test career and reins were passed on to Kohli, because Dhoni wanted to play spinners and on spinning tracks, and he उसको मजा आता था उस pitches पे, उस conditions पे. लेकिन कोहली का उल्टा है, he wanted fast bowlers.
नहीं, Dhoni always believed in a 7-4 combination, Keshav.
Yeah.
Kohli started experimenting with a 6-5 combination. Yeah. And result, today we are seeing a 6-5 combination. Now, had Dhoni been there, you would have expected a Hanuma Vihari, because Dhoni always felt India in that lower middle order struggles. देखिए हमारे टेस्ट हिस्ट्री अगर देखा जाए तो वीवीएस लक्ष्मण के टाइम से वो एक नंबर 6 एक प्रॉब्लम हुआ करता था. तो नंबर 6 would be the anchor around which the tail would revolve and Lakshman would take it forward. Same concept धोनी भी आगे लेते गए. But ये बार Virat Kohli says, like how the commentator Ravi Shastri would say, if six batsmen could not do it, then no point having the 7th batsman. As simple as that.
Absolutely. I think if I remember correctly, 2014 में जब इंडिया इंग्लैंड गया था तो धोनी ही कैप्टन थे. वहां पे it was the first time when India actually kind of tried 5-6-5 वाला combination when Stuart Binney played in a test match, and he actually played a very important knock as well in one of the tests to draw that first game in Nottingham, if I'm not wrong. And then we won in Lords but ended up losing the series. But anyway, I think आज अब जो 11 announce किए इंडिया ने, on the eve of the WTC final. So Anshuman का question लेते हैं. He's asking, what do you guys think about India announcing the playing 11 a day before? Does it show they are brave and have clarity of mindset, or is it a stupid move?
Traditionally, we are not really aware of seeing India doing this, right, Keshav? And even the gentleman who asked that question, it's always at the toss we get to know the playing 11. See, I just feel it is a clarity of mind that really helps, Anshuman. It's good that India are going in with a mindset that this is what we want to achieve, and I see nothing wrong in this at all. Absolutely nothing wrong. You don't want to really dwell deep into it, but what I really liked about it is they've gone in with 5 specialist bowlers. And remember, Keshav, when New Zealand played England in the 2 test matches, England didn't play a single spinner, if you remember. It's been only pacers. I just feel if we have to break this New Zealand juggernaut right now, you have to bring in a dimension or a variation. And I feel spinners, which has traditionally been India's strength. I was speaking on the live before. I don't think so. You had joined us by then. We have played 3 spinners in England during the times of Erapalli Prasanna, Venkat Raghavan, and even Chandrasekhar, or even for that matter, Bishan Singh Bedi. So as much as we attach credence to the overcast conditions, the gloomy conditions, the track on offer, all of that, I just feel psychologically playing 2 spinners is something that is part of Indian cricket culture. So we should not be a little surprised by this kind of a situation. And coming back to the playing 11 being announced, fair enough. I'm happy. It gives more clarity to the team management.
Yeah, and I think to the players also, क्योंकि काफी बार होता है कि एक आधा प्लेयर कोई ऐसा होता है जिसके स्पॉट पे क्वेश्चन होता है, and he will spend a sleepless night just imagining कि पता नहीं मेरा नाम आएगा नहीं आएगा कल 11 में. But when a player is announced, then he can sleep peacefully and play better on field the other day. And I think New Zealand is keeping the cards close to their chest because they are not really revealing and keeping India guessing. क्योंकि अभी तक किसी को भी नहीं पता है कि कौन वो 5 बॉलर खेलने वाले हैं. Probably अगर साउदी बोल्ट और वैगनर खेलते हैं तो वो जो बाकी के 2 स्पॉट हैं उसके लिए people like Jamieson, Grandholm, Ajaz Patel, Henry, everyone is fighting for those 2 spots, isn't it?
Oh yes, and one more thing, Keshav, if I'm not wrong, I'll just share an experience with you. Most of the players are told about their participation in the playing 11 on the eve of the match. So most players are told personally that tomorrow you are playing. So they are well aware of their role on the following day. Secondly, Keshav, if I have to ask you a counter question, going into this WTC final, who are favorites and who are the underdogs?
I think it's the $1 million question, the most difficult question right now on planet Earth, because See, if as an Indian I had to tell you, I can easily say India, but you have to factor in two very important things here. First of all, India is playing in England in June after 25 years, isn't it? And the second important factor is New Zealand has just played 2 test matches. They've been here preparing for a good part of the last 2 months, and India hasn't played a test in I think a couple of months, and they the last any sort of cricket they played was IPL. तो उसके बाद भी एक महीने का गैप आ गया. I don't think intra squad games would give you a lot of answers, but just strictly going by the circumstances, I think New Zealand are slightly ahead, even though on paper India looks like a better team purely on quality and caliber if you just talk about batsmanship or bowling skills. But I think it all comes down to how well you are prepared for the big final.
I'd want to believe New Zealand begin as favourites as well, simply because they've beaten England in England a week ago. As simple as that. Point number one.
Absolutely.
They've had the first-hand feel of conditions, pitches, and more importantly, a match. Playing at Lords, that in itself is a big occasion.
Yeah, and so Anshuman says he's happy with the bowling combination. Feel for Siraj, but 11 looks perfect. I mean, it could have been a very easy emotional decision to pick Siraj based on form and how he has impressed so much since his debut in Australia. But I think it's a reward for somebody like an Ishant Sharma, who was probably the one who looked very likely to miss out his place to Siraj. Lekin I think agar unhone Ishant ko prefer kiya hai, that tells you a lot about how the team has valued him as a test match specialist. Because 2007 se I think he's been a workhorse for India. I mean, I can't really think of any one particular patch or period of time where Ishant was out of contention in test matches. He has always been there. And since he doesn't play white ball, so this is more or less a World Cup for him.
Right, now let's go back to 2007 when I watched Ishant Sharma bowling to Ricky Ponting. It's 2021. 14 years into Indian cricket, if today Ishant Sharma loses his place to a Mohammad Siraj, then there's something wrong with Ishant Sharma, and that maybe he does not deserve to have played 14 years in Indian cricket. Point number one. Secondly, if you have to look at Ishant Sharma's track record in England, he's been one of the best pacers in England with winning matches for India. He's won a match for India at Lords as well, if I'm not wrong. Listen, Mohammad Siraj has shown promise, has shown performance, but when it comes to a high-profile encounter like this, you would always want to tell Siraj, this time you miss out, learn from what's happening in the middle, but you are in the pecking order, which means today it's an honor for you that you've been pitted against either a Mohammad Shami or an Ishant Sharma to be in the playing 11. That in itself is a big honor. You have to go with the best three, and today the best three for me is Shami, Bumrah, Ishant. I go in the order of this. I feel Shami is at his peak, Bumrah and Test is getting there right on top, and then Ishant Sharma, despite being 14 years in it, I don't think he's the lead bowler today. I would say Mohammad Shami is the lead bowler.
Absolutely. I think since 2018, these three have picked the most number of wickets as well in the world. If you just talk about the bowling units, India has been leading those charts. On that note, I want to add a friend of mine who's been a very, very long time follower of cricket just like us. And he has had interactions with you on Dial C for cricket. So here we go, Imam Sharif.
Oh my God, I'm seeing him after such a long time. Imam, where have you disappeared?
Hi, Mikhail. Lovely seeing you here. Dial C ended, so it was, heartbreaking for fans like me. But I have been following cricket. I have been following you, and I'm so glad that Keshav told us that you're on. So I said, I just want to say a quick hi to Mikhail.
Oh yes, I remember your passion for cricket, your passion for radio, if I'm not wrong, right? You were always inclined towards radio. You used to talk to me, I remember.
Yeah, I have quite a few bats as souvenirs जो आप भेजते थे मेरे पास. So yeah.
इतना भेज दिया कि मेरे पास एक भी नहीं है आज.
Yes, so I was actually listening to the conversation. I completely agree with all Mikhail said, Keshav. I think that's how we should go ahead.
Yeah, and I think Imam was also in favor of going with Siraj, if I'm not wrong. On our cricket group, he wanted, and the concerns are very realistic as well, क्योंकि ईशांत की अगर आप इंजरी जो प्रोन जो पिछले एक साल से ऑलमोस्ट चली आ रही है, last IPL in 2019 he missed most of the games, and then ऑस्ट्रेलिया नहीं गए खेलने, इंग्लैंड के साथ सारे टेस्ट मैच नहीं खेले, अभी ये वाला आईपीएल भी पूरा नहीं खेल पाए. तो the only concern is what if he breaks down during the test match. If you remember that Lord's Test in 2011 when Zaheer broke down on the day one and Dhoni had to bowl and we ended up losing the game and the series. So that's the ultimate nightmare, that you don't want to lose one of your prime bowlers on day one.
I would want to just beg to differ over here. And at one point, Zaheer Khan, you mentioned Zaheer Khan?
Yeah.
Zaheer Khan was an injury-prone pacer. I hope you get what I'm saying. Ishant Sharma has been unfit for a while. Ishant Sharma has not experienced breakdowns during matches or during series. He's been unfit. He's got fit to play the IPL maybe, to keep himself ready for that. But the fact is, he's not as brittle or fragile as an Ashish Nehra or, for that matter, a Zaheer Khan. So I would want to believe, I don't know if I will feel it is easy for Ishant Sharma to last the 5 days. And if he does not, it is a big failure on part of the team management and Ishant himself. Let's be brutally critical when we have to be.
Yeah, and I think it's again the fact that we are going with 6-5 combination. If at all it comes down to that, you have at least 4 other bowlers to do the job. Just like in Australia when Navdeep Saini broke down, you still ended up winning that game because you had other bowlers to bank upon. So yeah, Imam, you want to add anything to that?
I just want to say, Mikhail and Keshav, that I somehow feel that this two-spinner theory is slightly an emotional decision with both Jadeja and Ashwin being at the top of the game. Because imagine, let's say, God forbidden, one of the fast bowlers gets injured. You have 2 spinners bowling in cloudy conditions because most of the match is being scheduled as cloudy showers. That doesn't make sense for me. So, ideally, if you wanted to play Ishant and Shami both, you should have had a cushion in somebody like a Shardul Thakur in either place of Ravindra Jadeja or Ashwin. Most probably in Jadeja's place. Ashwin, because of the left-handers, Ashwin has to play. So I think that's the mistake which we have made. I hope that doesn't turn out to be a mistake, because you should not make up your mind that we will go with 2 spinners. What will you do when on a grassy wicket with 2 spinners?
Point number 1, I would like to ask you, Imam, what is the percentage of a pacer getting injured in the World Test Championship final?
That's very less, Mikhail, but
okay.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go
agree. That is very less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if India had to add a Shardul Thakur, India would have rather added a Hanuma Vihari, because remember, we need depth in the batting today at the same time. If you go in with a Shardul Thakur, we are compromising. Who's a better batsman, Jadeja or a Thakur?
That's a tricky one. Against fast bowling, Shardul has shown enough that he can handle fast bowling.
In the test format?
Yeah, in Brisbane. So it's the quite recent memory.
I'm getting into dial C mode. I'm going to grill you now. No, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate over here. India needs to look at the depth in the batting and the depth in the bowling. And if you have to do that, you have to include a Jadeja. Have to. You cannot go in with a Shardul Thakur. Or for that matter, if you're doing away with a Jadeja, then you have to add a Hanuma Vihari. I don't know, Keshav, you can join in. Imam, you can refute my statements.
I completely agree. I mean, I don't know why Imam thought it's a tricky question who's a better batsman. I mean, Shardul Thakur, just based on that one knock in Australia.
No. The reason why I say that, Keshav, is because even Jadeja is coming off, from an injury. Let's not forget that he had got this, yes, he has played the IPL. Yes, he has done exceedingly well. But test format, short pitch bowling. Mikhail, you're on mute.
Imam Anshuman is saying, come on, Imam, Jadeja has an average of 58 in the World Test Championship.
And Mikhail, I'll tell you what, Imam, a couple of months ago when Jadeja played those amazing knocks in Australia, he was advocating for Jadeja to play at 4 in white ball for India. Now he's saying
let me present my case like in Dial C, Mikhail. I'll also come in the Dial C board now. What I'm trying to say here, nothing against Jadeja. I love, he definitely is a very good batsman. What I'm trying to say from the bowling aspect, when you look at the pitch, all of us have looked at the pitch on a photo, on a picture. Today, ICC had put out a photo. In fact, Simon Dool put out a tweet stating, "Do not take out that grass. Let the game be on with that grass. Don't mow it down." So he went ahead and tweeted that to Karthik just as a teaser to him. So what I'm trying to say is Shardul Thakur I'm more in favor of him bowling those 10 to 12 overs for us rather than his batting. Batting definitely adds as a as an added advantage. But I'm just wondering on a pitch like Southampton, where it has a history of fast bowlers who have done well. Why don't you add a seamer friendly a seamer rather than a spinner? Because
Right.
imagine two Ashwin and Jadeja bowling in tandem and under clouds doesn't make sense for me. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Imam, had Hardik Pandya been in the test side and you would have made this statement, I would have agreed with you. As simple as that. We needed a Hardik Pandya for a Southampton then, not a Shardul Thakur. I would still lay my money on Jadeja simply because I don't want to attach too much of significance to a pitch when it comes to Jadeja. He is a clever, smart bowler to use even a green top to get his wickets, be it faster ones or the one that comes fully inside, that quicker cutter which may not even turn, the batsman going in for the turn, he puts in the armour delivery. I am just banking on Jadeja, the all-rounder, the wily left-arm spinner who can be an asset out of 3 departments in 2 at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just look at his fielding. I mean, if you remember that Steve Smith run out in Australia, just think if he affects any sort of dismissal in that manner, maybe he runs out Williamson or Taylor, then you will think कि चलो कि bowling अगर ना भी करे ये, चाहे एक भी wicket ना ले, but he's giving me that as well. That's another dismissal that will go to him, isn't it? So in that sense, I think. In just pure wicket-taking ability, and you're picking your best attack, best possible attack, India did the right thing. Because if you're a good enough bowler, I mean, you don't want to make excuses कि यार pitch मेरे मतलब की नहीं है या मौसम ऐसा था. I mean, you will play a Shane Warne on any pitch anywhere in the world. So for India, I think these two are the best spinners, and they have to play there. They can bat as well. That's another bonus.
Imam, correct me again if I'm wrong here. I'm just trying to add a twist to this discussion. You are saying, what is Ravindra Jadeja doing on a green top in Southampton? Point number 1. I know the highest average today in the World Test Championship by an Indian batsman is held by Rohit Sharma. But what is Rohit Sharma doing as an opener on a green top against Bolt and Southee?
Absolutely, I agree with you.
He has defied logic by coming in as an opener, pipping a Mayank Agarwal, and even for that matter, KL Rahul. Put everybody behind and come in as an opener.
Yeah, and now talking about another aspect which we should touch upon. New Zealand ने अब तक अपने 11 नहीं announce किए, तो it's very I think even Kohli and Shastri might not know who they are going to play. Then how will we know? But just if you were to guess, who will your 5 bowlers be? Because the top 6 is more or less the same for everyone. But who will your 5 bowlers be?
For me, Neil Wagner, Tim Southee, Trent Bolt, Matt Henry, and Kyle Jamieson. I don't think they'll go with Ejaz Patel against India because that will be like playing in India's favor. And on that kind of attack, I don't see Ejaz Patel playing. Matt Henry, it's very difficult to leave him out after the man of the match performance. And Matt Henry has this psychological edge against the Indian batters. You know what happened in 2019 semi-final. Those ghosts will be running in their minds. Rohit Sharma will open, and I'm absolutely sure Bolt and Southee will open. But very soon, if they don't get a wicket, Matt Henry will be given the ball. So for me, those are the 5 bowlers.
Plus the recent form, he won the man of the match in that second test, so that also helps.
I'm agreeing in total agreement with the Imam over here. I will also go in with 5 pacers. Bringing in a spinner will be playing into India's hands, putting them in the comfort zone, giving them a break and allowing them to settle in as well. On this track, I will not want to feed them with food. I rather send them a Wagner in between, the swing of Kyle Jamieson, or maybe the bouncers of Matt Henry. I will even pick a Lockie Ferguson and keep him in standby and tell boss, even you can come in handy for me over here because you also troubled the Indian batsmen. So please stay handy. So I will not get spinners for the Indian team. As simple as that.
Yeah, but I mean, such contrasting dynamics for both the teams. If they don't end up playing any spinner, if India is playing 2 spinners, the composition is so different and ironic, and both the teams will be planning so differently for each other. I mean, New Zealand will have to plan to face Jadeja and Ashwin, and on the other hand, India will have to plan playing 5 out-and-out pacers without any breathing space, because if Ejaz Patel plays, he'll at least provide some sort of breather for a brief period of time in between if India wants to go.
It's really simple. You need to understand what troubles both sides. What is going
Yeah.
to trouble? What has troubled New Zealand? Or what will trouble foreign batsmen? It's spinners. I know it's not going to turn much. I agree. I am just going with that three batsmen, left-handers. Ravichandran Ashwin coming into play, playing on the mind, two slips, silly point, short leg. That entire mahol that you build around the batsman is enough to get the New Zealand batsmen out. And remember, they're all
Yeah.
relatively new. And Jadeja just adding in that tension pressure. For India, what has been their problem? It's been the pacers, swing bowlers, playing outside the line, playing too much of T20 cricket, going for the shots, fishing around the off stump, chasing the ball, having the slip quadrant busy. So, you have your answers there. If I get a spinner today, I'm sure the Indian batsman will say, okay, Ravichandran Ashwin, if it comes to number 5, 6, 7, Ravichandran Ashwin will be very happy. He'll settle in, he'll take his time. I don't want any batsman to settle, Indian batsman to settle down. I will keep them on their toes with pacers.
That's a good point. I think it also boils down to who the occasion gets to. Matlab, this is the final, isn't it? And we have seen with both the teams, the history, especially the recent history. New Zealand ko agar aap dekho, they have lost their 2015 and 2019 finals in the World Cup. And then they lost T20 2016 World T20 ka semi-final against England. For India, we have been losing in knockouts since 2013 after winning the Champions Trophy. Uske baad se even we have been failing at that front. So for both the teams, I think it's a test of temperament in this big occasion. And the team who blinks first, I think, is going to lose. So since both the teams have equally strong bowling attacks, it will come down to who bats better in these conditions, because a new ball will do equally for both the teams, for both the bowlers, bowling departments. And if you see at India, Rohit Sharma has, never opened in England before. So it's a test for him as well. Doesn't matter how good he is in white ball or for how many years he's been playing, opening for India in white ball. And Shubman Gill is playing his first tour in England. If you see at New Zealand, Conway, yes, he got a 200, but the occasion might get to his nerves. It's the final. It's the big final. Latham he is not in form. Williamson ko agar aap dekho, wo injury se aa raha hai. So it might how the two teams bat might be the difference at the end of the day.
Imam.
I just want to say this, Mikhail and Keshav. I'm just, that if you guys remember the last time India toured England, there was a test match in Lords. First day got washed out by rain, and then in that same game we picked two spinners, and we thought that we'll bat first, and I think we misread the conditions, miserably, and we lost that game. Anderson got us out for 100 something. Match was finished in 4 days. So
Imam, who got 100 in that game for England? Chris Wokes.
Exactly. So and we lost that game really badly. So I just hope, I'm all in for India, the way they have selected their team. They announced the 11 a day before. That shows clarity of thought, which is very good. That was never the case with Team India. Me and Mikhail always, a day before the game, we used to discuss the 11. There was never an opportunity for us to discuss ki ye 11 hui hai. We've always at last minute toss pe pata chalega kaun khelega. And Milen Rege sir and all, we used to say 3 spinners nahi khilayenge because one will get under ball. He was very happy with that point. So the clarity of thought is there. Let's give it to them. Ravi Shastri has brought in this change. So that's a huge credit to him. And Mikhail, please go ahead.
Sorry, now that they've announced the playing 11, tomorrow at the toss, would Kane Williamson say, okay, I know the playing 11 already, so instead of batting first after winning the toss, which India would technically want to do, right? Because they will want their bowlers to bowl on the final day. New Zealand says, we'll bat first. We'll not even give you all the opportunity to use 4 and 5 days. We'll make you bowl on day 1 and day 3, if that happens. That could also be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, look, for India, I think toss matters more because we have 2 spinners ko khila rahe hain, and ideally you would want to bowl at New Zealand in the 4th innings on day 4 and 5 or day 6 if it comes to that. So that way, I think New Zealand will have the upper hand if they won the toss and batted first themselves. On that note, I'll also add Sunny, who has just joined us for a brief.
By the time you add Keshav, I just want to say that might backfire on New Zealand though. It's not as simple as it seems. Yeah, because what happens is if that would have been the case if it was sunny, but by the looks of it, it will be cloudy. And if by any chance New Zealand say, okay, we are going to bat, and in that first session, Jasprit Bumrah bowls that boomerangs which he bowled to, the Kyle Jennings last time. I still remember that LBW, he did not have a clue where the ball was coming from, and because the ball seemed so much. So if New Zealand bat first, that might be the opportunity for Team India to, go, because we are playing three seamers also. Let's not forget that. In that, we always thinking that those spinners खिला रहे हैं from wave 4 and 5. World class three seamers है हमारे पास. So even England is now thinking whether we should give green tops to take revenge, which we did last time. We cannot do that to Team India now. वो 90s 2000s में अलग जमाना था. आप लोग green बना दो, हमारे बैट्समैन एक 250 बना लेंगे, आपको 100 पे आउट कर देंगे. But here is not the case. We are absolutely capable to bowl New Zealand all out in the first session. And I'm not, I'm overselling our bowling lineup. But if the conditions are a bit friendly and New Zealand says we'll bat first, don't watch out for those three seamers.
I mean, as an Indian fan, would you want India to bat first? Would you want to see Indian openers in that first session where it's all jitters and butterflies in the stomach, or you would want to see New Zealand batsmen facing the music for the first few overs?
No. If you ask me, I'll want India to bat first. That's our best chance. Let's not forget. I want them to watch the Headingley game tonight. If anybody can watch YouTube, Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma should watch the Headingley game, in which Saurav Ganguly under cloudy conditions won the toss and batted because he was playing Kumble and Harbhajan both. And Sanjay Bangar and Dravid put up a fantastic partnership. It was boring batting to the death. Boring, absolute boring. But it was so effective that we won the test match on the 5th day. That's what Gill and Rohit Sharma have to do tomorrow. First session, they have to give it to the bowlers. 40 for no loss is fine. 35 for no loss is fine. But 50 for 3 or 60 for 4 will be a problem.
Okay, on that note, I'll also include Sunny before we end the conversation. Sunny, are you happy with the 11 or were you expecting something else?
Well, only thing I was expecting is Siraj to be playing in that 11, but now they've included Shami. Then it actually boosts up our fast bowling lineup because we've got Ishant Sharma, we've got Jasprit Bumrah, and not to forget that if somehow reverse swing comes into play, then Shami is a very lethal bowler when it comes to reverse swing. We've seen that when he made his debut against West Indies. So I think including Shami and making Siraj set out in the final is a bold call, and obviously the best one.
Okay, so Mikkail sir, I'll come to you now. See, we have been talking a lot about both the team's players and how the combination have shaped up. Let's talk a little bit about the coaches as well. I mean, Ravi Shastri on one hand has done so good for India in the last few years, and if you look at New Zealand, it was a huge shock when Mike Hesson just stood down in 2018, a year before World Cup. And फिर उसके बाद, since Gary he took over, they have done well. I mean, they won a series in UAE, which is as hard for a team like New Zealand, just like for us, it's winning in Sena countries. So for them to be winning in UAE against Pakistan, drawing a test series in Sri Lanka, winning in England. So, how do you rate the two coaches here?
See, very difficult to rate coaches, to be very honest, but I would like to see the relationships they have with their captains. I was speaking to Saurav Ganguly once upon a time, and I asked him, what was the big difference between you and John Wright and you and Greg Chappell? And he told me that John Wright was a people's man. He would give his opinion, but he would let the captain take the call. In Greg Chappell's case, it was my way or highway. And then I asked him, Dada, kya ek mayan mein do talwar nahi ja sakte? He told me, ja sakte hai do talwar. Lekin in Chappell's case, it became out of control. See, why teams are successful today, why India is successful, why New Zealand is successful, is because I feel the coach's interference stops after a particular time and they allow the players and the captain to take the big calls. When a coach tries to control the team, that's where the players try to feel a little suffocated and revolt or rebel in their own way. In both these cases, if you look at India and New Zealand, both these players are being allowed to play a free brand of cricket without much interference. And another thing about Ravi Shastri is that you can party till 7 in the morning if you want, boys. But if there's a practice session at 8, you bloody well be there. Whereas some coaches say there's practice at 7, You sleep by 8:39. The light should be off. I'm coming to check that. So these things play a very important part as well.
I think that's very well put. And one reason which I also think quite, and that's quite similar between India and New Zealand, is the consistency and the run that's been given to a coach and a captain. If you see, like, for so long now, Kohli has been at the helm. Before that, Dhoni was given such a long run. So we have got these eras which we actually identify with one captain, isn't it?
No, Keshav, imagine you're replacing an Anil Kumble with a Ravi Shastri. I mean, what more of a testament that you can get that Kohli is happy with a man who allows him to be him, or because he was with a man who was equally big in terms of personality, ego, maybe, and even stature. So, you can fairly understand why Gary Kirsten clicked with Dhoni is because Gary Kirsten was the, I would say, how do I put it in a sentence? He played second. He played second fiddle to Dhoni.
Yeah, absolutely. And my point was, just look at the teams who are struggling in Test cricket. If you see Sri Lanka, every series they have a new captain. They keep changing their coaches. Look at Pakistan; they keep changing captain and coaches. That's why they're struggling. But if at the same time you look at India and New Zealand, Dhoni was given a long run, and then he had that relationship with Gary Kirsten, as you said. Even Duncan Fletcher, they formed a good relationship between them. Now Shastri and Kohli. If you look at New Zealand, before Gary and Williamson, there was Mike Hesson and Brendan McCullum who actually shaped up this team. So just like how Dhoni passed on the pattern to Kohli, here McCullum was grooming Williamson to be their future captain for years to come. So I think that's one reason why both the teams have done well. So Sunny, if I ask you quickly, do you think India playing in England in June, which is happening after very long time? I think in the 90s they played in England in June the last time. So they've always been playing in August or something like that when it's more dry. So do you think that might work against us because we have never played in this sort of weather and these conditions?
Well, I think it could turn out to be a blessing in disguise for us because, see, we've never played in these kind of conditions, but the kind of cricket which England played against New Zealand has actually exploited some of their loopholes in the team. And if Team India can actually look onto that thing, and if they somehow manage to win this World Test Championship final, then it could act as a confidence booster for them because New Zealand is equally threatful as England. If you compare Tim Southee, Trent Bolt, Neil Wagner with someone like James Anderson, Stuart Broad, and Mark Wood. So if you compare these three, then it's similar sort of bowling they have. This championship title could turn out to be a confident booster, and it could actually reflect in our batting, in our fielding, in our bowling, actually in our performance, and not playing in these sort of conditions, and then getting to play in these sort of conditions could be a huge. I would say I'm not getting the thing, but it could turn out to be a blessing in disguise, as I said. And you never know that, Shubman Gill, who has his technical glitch against the incoming deliveries, you never know, it could turn out to be good for him because he could then get on to improve his batting technique.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want a World Test Championship final to work on your technique. But Imam, now, since rain is there, the forecast is such. Would a draw be the worst result? I mean, just try to look at it from a different perspective. Both India and New Zealand have not won an ICC title for so long. And if it's a draw, our hearts at least will not be broken. We'll be joint winners. So do you think that's not the worst result in the world if it ends up in a draw?
It's not a best result in the world because see, the whole purpose of the World Test Championship was to get that interest to the viewers. People are interested to see who is winning. People are interested to see who is the better team. And if you end up and have two champions, the whole purpose of having the WTC is, goes down for me. So I don't think we'll be happy with the draw. But as a fan, I will be delighted to see New Zealand also host the championship, because these are wonderful guys of cricket, great sportsmanship they show, and I can't forget till my last breath the way Williamson conducted himself after the 2019 World Cup. He won me forever. After that, I'm sure this is the case with a lot of people, but for me, he won me for life. The way he reacted or not reacted, and the press conference, it was so beautiful. So I think if it comes down to that, and if the Almighty doesn't want to disappoint either of the parties, then they would say कि draw hone do. But I still think that there will be a result in this game, because it's going to be very spicy conditions. Even if we get 3 days of cricket, we should have a result.
I mean, ask a New Zealand fan, they would have loved to be the joint winner in 2019 World Cup, the way they lost that game. So they wouldn't really mind being the joint winners here. But Mikhail sir, do you think, regardless of the result now in this final, after this, at least teams, the opposition should start taking New Zealand a bit seriously, क्योंकि यार जिस तरीके की वो टीम है, आप देखोगे कि बहुत हार्डली कभी वो 3 मैच या 4 मैच की सीरीज खेलते हैं, ज्यादातर उनको 2-2 मैच की सीरीज मिलती है. साउदी ने अपना डेब्यू किया था कोई 2007-8 के टाइम पे, जब वो शुरू कर रहे थे. आज इतने सालों बाद भी उनके 80 टेस्ट भी शायद कंप्लीट नहीं हुए. एंड इफ यू लुक एट जो रूट, 2012 में डेब्यू करके 9 साल में 100 टेस्ट खेल चुका है. सो न्यूजीलैंड को और टेस्ट मिलने चाहिए ना. म्यूट यूर ऑन म्यूट.
एक चीज बताना चाहूंगा. Polite, soft-spoken gentlemen are never taken seriously. They're always taken as very sweet and wonderful people. And that goes with the entire New Zealand team and the New Zealand country. As simple as that. Their demeanor does not make them aggressive, and that's why they are not taken seriously. You bring an Australian team in front, just besides them, and stand them, they automatically look aggressive. Or Mitchell Stark, or for that matter. See, New Zealand for a very long time, or rather, should have been taken seriously a very long time back. I mean, you look at the history of cricketers, yeah. I mean, the only man I thought who probably had a little bit of swag was Mark Great Batch during the days of 1992. If you watched him bat, he came across as a very just strong batsman and lefty, and he could be a threatening batsman. But New Zealand, even a Danny Morrison would just quietly come, bowl, get his hat trick, and move away. So let's emboss this line that New Zealand is a world beater team today. They've shown it in the shortest format, in the shorter format, and now in the longest format. They're in the World Cup final, World T20, World Test Championship finals. What more as testimony for that they should not be taken seriously?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, like, when they tour India or India tours them, we just played 2 test matches. England has played them twice since 2019, and they have only played 2 tests each time, home and away, and both were not even a part of WTC cycle. So,
Keshav, how do you remember so many stats? First, tell me that.
Yeah, just I think the love for the game, and as you said, soft-spoken people are never taken seriously. That's why Sunny and Imam never take me seriously in our WhatsApp cricket group. And
that's because they are also soft-spoken.
Yeah, so we are like a New Zealand team. But actually that is so true. Now, if you look at it, Mikhail and Keshav, Sunny, they look at how many New Zealand cricketers do we see in IPL? It's so ridiculous. Conway had such a fantastic season, and why the hell would someone not pick him up when he was not picked? And I think Simon Doull has a very good theory on this. He uses very good language to explain this. When it comes to Australians getting picked ahead of New Zealanders. So yeah, but absolutely right. Soft-spoken people, I think that's why they are never taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, look, now in the second half of IPL, Conway will get picked because a lot of English players won't be available, and I'm sure, the way he got that double 100 might be playing on the owner's mind, franchisee's mind. Okay, now, last 5 minutes before we end this. So, Imam, if you had to pick a winner for us, it's a very difficult question.
Sorry, Sunny was trying to say something before me, and I interrupted.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question to Mikhail, sir. Sir, how do you see Ajinkya Rahane and Ross Taylor? Because both have been, I would say, fabulous players when it comes to, playing with the grit, and they also are the most soft-spoken person. So do you think that they both gonna play a very important role when it comes to this final?
It goes without saying, both are spent over 10 years now in Indian cricket. And I've always felt Rahane, when he's given more responsibility, performs better. I once tweeted something about Rahane and I got a lot of flack on Twitter where I stated that Rahane's indifferent form is causing a lot of concern for India, because remember that Indian middle order, now we have Jadeja, but otherwise that Indian middle order was not a very experienced middle order, with Haruma Vihari being there, and then you had Ravichandran Ashwin following and all of that. So, and that's when Twitter told what rubbish this, that. But for me, the concern has been Rahane has not been consistent. Let me be very honest. My observation. A century followed by 4-5 low scores, out of which 3 are single digit, does not help the cause. That captaincy stint in Australia, winning the trophy, saved the day for Rahane. Let me be very honest, because he was under a little bit of pressure and in the spotlight as well. See, Ross Taylor, as much as I have always branded him as a short format player, he's always proved me wrong in the long format. So I've always seen him, because I've never seen him having a great offside game. His maximum shots come towards the mid wicket and long off mid on region. Let's be very honest. His scoring shots. So once again, it's a wait and watch with both of them. And what Rahane is to, as you rightly pointed out, Sunny, what Rahane is to India in the middle order, Ross Taylor is to New Zealand as well.
And I think no one is really talking much about Henry Nicholls. He is also quite an underrated guy. Look at that partnership he shared with Devon Conway in the first game. And I have a good feeling that if New Zealand ends up winning this final, you might see another retirement in Ross Taylor. I mean, Watling is anyway going. He has decided, but Taylor hasn't said anything, but he's 37 now. I mean, what else is there for him to achieve? He's not in the T20 team anymore for them. World Cup is a couple of years far ahead. So, do you think, sir, that he might end up retiring after this?
See, I don't know about foreign cricketers, but Indian cricketers are today reluctant to retire because they see the IPL as their chance to make money. That's because if you retire from Indian cricket team, your value in the IPL automatically drops down. But what happens today is also, if you retire in Indian cricket, you get to play the other leagues because of the NOC given by the BCCI, be it the G20 Canada. Now, Ross Taylor, is he a freelance T20 cricketer being looked around by other franchises in the world? I don't think so. He's up there. But otherwise, I feel Ross Taylor does not look 37, firstly. His fitness has not really been questioned by us when we've seen him. If he can push himself, well and good. But 37, if he wants to retire, well, salute to a legend who served New Zealand cricket with great professionalism.
I think that's the best way to put it across. Imam, now, before we end this final predictions, if India wins the toss, what do you want to do? And what possible result that you are seeing if we get enough play?
Bat first. You have to bat first. It's a final. Let's not forget that. Yes, it's a test match, but again, batting first is something which gives you that added advantage with two spinners, especially, and it will put a lot of pressure on New Zealand to get India all out before 300. Because what will happen? They know they are going to go with 5 seamers, as we discussed. They are not going to go with a spinner, so they will have this at the back of their mind. And England made the same mistake just last week. They did not go with a spinner, and they ended up paying big time for it. So New Zealand might end up doing the same mistake. But for that to happen, we have to really bat well. And I'm very worried about Rohit Sharma and Gill opening, because their technique in those conditions will be exposed. Australia is a different kind of a pitch. The bounce is there. Gill and Rohit will do very well there. But in England, I'm really worried for them. But as an Indian fan, optimism is always there. And I really hope that we do well. New Zealand starts slightly favorite for me, 55-45 to New Zealand.
Okay, Sunny, who are your favorites, and do you think कि अगर weather को देखें तो अगर overcast हुआ तो will you be lured to actually bowl first, or would you be aggressive and bat first?
Well, if I think as a cricketer, being a bowler, I would definitely love to bowl first in those overcast conditions. But as Imam Bhai rightly said, that you're playing two spinners. So what happens is when you play two spinners, it comes handy when the other team is chasing in the fourth innings, because then if there are some cracks, there is some dryness on the pitch, then they can exploit it really well. So for me, win the toss, bat first, put a score of around 330 to 350, and you're right in the game.
Who's your favorites? Percentage?
Definitely. Uh, I would say 50-50 India and New Zealand.
ओके मिकाइल सर हमने इंडिया के पर्सपेक्टिव से तो बात की लेकिन अगर न्यूजीलैंड टॉस जीतता है तो डू यू थिंक दे वुड बी एक्चुअली लुकिंग टू बैट फर्स्ट जस्ट लाइक दे डिड इन 2019 वर्ल्ड कप सेमीफाइनल और डू यू थिंक they would feel कि Indian batsmen are probably under much more pressure than our own batsmen because we have played a couple of tests in these conditions, so a chance to get India all out early on and then bat late in the day?
Throw them into the firing line is what the New Zealand team will be discussing in the dugout before going into the toss. We win the toss, we bowl first, and it's baptism by fire for India on a green top, who hardly had any match practice over there in England, who've just come in, finished their lockdown, had an intra-squad test match with two relatively two great batsmen India have, but Shubman Gill low on experience, and Rohit Sharma's green top stories are well documented as well. So if I'm New Zealand, win the toss, bowl first, because I feel this is a good chance to get them out ASAP, maybe inside 100 as well. Looking at what happened in the 2019 World Cup semi-final as well, it was little overcast, little rain, and Lockie Ferguson and everybody. There was Milner, right? Adam Milner as well over there, right?
Yeah.
Who caused havoc? Yeah, so
It was Matt Henry, I think.
Matt Henry, yes.
Yeah.
India, I would say New Zealand start as favorites, 60-40 in New Zealand's favor, and good contest. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We need a result, as simple as that. Let's have a result.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think 55-45 New Zealand, just because they've played in England recently. They've been here preparing. India have just arrived, played intra-squad game, and India are playing in June for the first time in England in years. So just because of that, I think New Zealand start favorite as well. And I just feel that New Zealand, even though they will be wanting to bowl first at India in these conditions, but I just feel that they would also want to go proactive and aggressive and choose to bat first, because I think batting fourth on this pitch in these conditions, especially the big occasion of final, might get to the nerves of the team batting fourth and chasing down even 150 in the fourth innings. So you never know. New Zealand end up batting first as well. But yeah, I mean, toss will be very important, and let's just hope we get a result. Even if we get a 200-250 all-out game, that sort of a game. Let's hope for a result. Yeah. So any parting thoughts, Mikhail sir? I hope you had fun for the first time on my channel.
Well, thank you for having me. Truly delighted to share the space with Imam, my good old friend from Dial-C. Sunny, who's been a very aspiring broadcaster and who's doing a great job as well. And Keshav,
yes, Sunny plays as well. Sunny plays cricket. He has been playing in DC Nets. He has been as a net bowler.
He did tell me about that. You did mention about that as well, Sunny. Spinner or pacer? I asked you that as well.
Left arm pacer.
You should be in Southampton. What are you doing here then? Well, keep it up. Keep going. Do well. Thank you. And Keshav, you're doing a good job. Amazing channel that you have. And you're calling a lot of speakers. I really admire your cricketing knowledge. You remind me of a young me who used to have all the numbers stored up in the mind before Dial-C. Without any paper, I would go queue and 1 hour non-stop cricketing talk with Imam and many more who used to join me then.
Yeah, plus I think this is all for the love of the game. Otherwise, I'm not full-time into it. I'm professionally a musician. But I just felt that, if I know my cricket, I have the communication skills, then why not channelize the energy into the right direction on YouTube?
Exactly. You never know who's watching.
Yeah. At least you have my eyes on. You have your eyes on me now, so you can recommend me to concerned authorities.
100%. You join. You can always join us as well on CrickFit. We do a lot of lives during IPL and all of it. I'll connect you to more video creators on cricket and debaters, and you can all make a big community and share your knowledge and even create your own shows, gentlemen.
Sure. And I'm just waiting for things to ease down so I can come over to your academy and play some cricket as well.
Oh, please. It's a wonderful academy. I'm very pleased. The invitation is extended to Imam and Sunny as well. Imam still in Hyderabad?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful.
Imam, any parting
But
thoughts?
thank you so much, Keshav. It's been such a long time since I spoke to Mikhail. Those were the wonderful days of my life, which I'll never forget. In fact, when I went over to the studio, I met Mikhail as well. Mikhail, I met, and it was so wonderful, the whole experience. So thank you so much, Keshav, for getting me on here. Mikhail, it was a pleasure talking to you. As it's always been over the years. Thank you so much.
I echo the same sentiments, Imam, and I'm glad you remember so much. But Dial C and Neo Cricket, it was a great experience, and those days were pure gold, unadulterated, and wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, I also remember sending SMS in those days. That was, I think, one of the very important sort of USP of Dial C for cricket, that whatever text you will send, just like how I have this banner running, so they will have our names attached to the comments that we would send. And I remember sending a comment during 2011 World Cup, build up to that World Cup, and my comment was featured there. So yeah, so thank you so much, Mikhail sir, Imam, Sunny, for joining in. This I think this is the last sleep now before the big final, and I think I'll have a sleepless night just thinking about that first hour if we are put into bat first and we have to face Henry, Saudi, Bolt, Wagner, everyone. So yeah, let's hope India does well. May the best team win. May the rain doesn't win. That's the only hope.
Thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.